The HD remake of Shadow of the Colossus is only days away, and seeing as it's my favourite game of all time, I thought I'd take a look back at this classic and rate all 16 Colossi from easiest to hardest on a first ever encounter basis. Number 16. Ballast the Minotaur, first Colossus. It's no surprise that the first hulking monstrosity to appear in the game is also the easiest to beat. Just think of it as the tutorial Colossus. Because Ballast isn't hostile until he spots you, and if you already know about the vitals in each Colossus, you can suss out its weak spots in relative safety before having to engage it. Once it sees you, the battle begins, but it's a fairly bog standard one in terms of the game. It swings, you climb, stabby stabby. It even has little platforms on its back that you can momentarily stand on to recover stamina. If you are completely lost as to what to do, Dormin, the disembodied voice telling you to kill all these poor Colossi, will chime in with a hint. While Dormin will do this on future fights, you'll have to be stuck on them a good while before any clues are given. You should work it out for yourself after all. Number 15. Quadratus the Bull, second Colossus. This one could have easily been bottom of the list if it weren't for a few extra mechanics compared to Ballast. Quadratus could potentially be a difficult fight for newcomers, given it's the first time you utilise aggro for combat, but you don't even need to use your horse, she just makes the fight go quicker. You could simply stand still and allow Quadratus to slowly lumber up to you. The game pretty much tells you what to do next, as the bull rears up to reveal the glowing underside of its hooves. Loose an arrow into its foot and watch it topple. After that, the only risk you really have is running out of stamina while climbing or being shaken off, but you shouldn't die from the full damage, so it isn't a big deal. Props to Quadratus for one of the coolest entrances in the game though. Number 14. Barber, Great Beast, 6th Colossus. Hey look, it's Ballast again, only this time with a great big bushy beard. Even its name, Barber, means beard in Latin, so if you're a Latin whiz that may give you a hint as to how to defeat this Colossus. It shouldn't take you too long to realise you can climb over the walls in the arena, and once engaged, Barber will follow you in hot pursuit, knocking every wall down as if they were a tower of cards. You'll eventually run out of walls to climb, but there is a convenient alcove that you can hide under. Barber will then lean down trying to find you, so use this opportunity to grab onto its great big bushy beard and make your way up to its vitals. Now, as far as I can remember, the only significant issues were not making it over the walls in time, which could result in you getting caught up in Barber's destruction, and weird climbing issues that could leave you tangled in its beard. But other than that, it's a fairly easy and slightly boring fight, especially as it comes straight after you fight a giant bird in a water-filled arena. To give Barber some credit though, it is one of the only Colossi that actually filled me with fear the first time I played. Watching it crash through wall after wall in pursuit of me really got my heart pumping, and that's how all the fights with the Colossi should feel. Absolutely terrifying. 13. Korra Mori, Wall Shadow, 8th Colossus. And the award for creepiest encounter theme music goes to Korra Mori with Black Blood. Korra Mori is basically a giant lizard stuck in a giant bucket, a tail trapped within a pail deep within the forest. That may sound kinda goofy, but Korra Mori is anything but. In fact, it's actually quite disturbing in appearance, not to mention it can scale walls to pursue you and fire laser bolts that leave the area flooded with poisonous gas. Such fun! Other than that though, the fight is, well, kind of easy, which is surprising given the fact that Korra Mori appears as the 8th Colossus, so halfway through the game. While the poison can be dangerous, all you have to do is walk out of the area to avoid it. Also, Korra Mori isn't very bright. It'll scale up to your last known position, fire laser bolts and look around for you, so use this opportunity to loose an arrow or two into its big, stupid glowing legs, just like you did with Quadratus and its hooves. The only other potentially lethal situation you have is getting down to it in time once it falls. Drop too far and Wanda could die, but seeing as he can fall quite a distance without too much impact on the health bar, it's not much to worry about. After all, this is a game about killing Colossi. If the guy can't take a 100-foot drop, then quite frankly, he isn't cut out for the job. 12. Avin, Bird of Prey, 5th Colossus. I'm always a little disappointed by the fight with Avin, not because of the Colossus itself, mind you. The design of it is amazing, and come on, it's a flying Colossus. The problem I have is, even as a newcomer, the fight just seems to be over too soon, and with such an awesome looking Colossus, I want the battle to go on as long as possible. Due to the fact Avin doesn't engage straight away, you have time to scout out its vitals from the ground, but to be honest, they're in quite obvious places. One on the tail end, and one on each wingtip. The biggest issue with this fight is stamina drain while on Avin's wings. If it keeps flapping its wings for too long, you can potentially run out of stamina and fall. The other issue is being forcibly blown off Avin by the wind rushing past, but neither is usually deadly, due to the fact the arena is submerged in water. Also, let's just mention the fact that Avin was minding its own business, perching on its tower without a care in the world, but of course, it has to die like all the others, in order to bring Wanda's dead girlfriend back to life. Because who cares about the fate of the world when you're in love? 11. Phaedra, Elite Warhorse, 4th Colossus. Yes, that's right, just walk this way so I can... Wait, where are you going? Come back, I need to kill you! I'm really not a huge fan of this Colossus, which is a shame because it's basically a giant horse and I love horses. The battle can go on and on and on as you try to keep Phaedra's attention while also trying to work out what to do to take it down. You're supposed to lead it to one of the burial mounds, sneak round to the other side while it's busy searching for you, and either jump on its tail or dangly rein thingies to climb up. Sometimes this works without a hitch, other times Phaedra wanders off to go play with something else. And there's really not much else to say about this Colossus encounter. It's a fairly boring fight that requires the utmost patience. Phaedra seems to have more a curiosity about Wanda than a want to kill him. The design is a little goofy, and yeah, I'm bored, let's just move on to the next one. 10. Gaius, Earth Knight, 3rd Colossus. So far on our list we've had Grumpy Club-wielding Colossus Man, Bushy Beard Colossus Man, now we have Super Tall Derpy Colossus Man. Nah, I'm only joking. While it has got a slightly odd-looking face, there is no doubt that Gaius is one of the most memorable and awe-inspiring Colossus fights, often seen by fans as the first proper battle of the game. It may not be obvious at first as to what you need to do to bring this towering behemoth down. It certainly wasn't for me, and in the end, Dorman had to give me a hint or two before I finally understood. That big disc in the middle of the arena, that's the key to breaking Gaius' armour and scaling up it once and for all. The fight can be pretty long-winded at times, mainly due to Gaius being the king of the Harlem Shake and positioning issues. Gaius will frequently refuse to use its sword against you, opting instead to walk up and try and stomp you into the ground, and even when you think you've got it where you want it, the Colossus may miss the disc by a few metres, resulting in you having to line Gaius up again. Once its armour is broken and you've scaled up the sword and onto its arm, it's a fairly easy fight from then on. Assuming Gaius stops shaking long enough for you to stab it, just stand still! 9. Dirge, Sand Tiger, 10th Colossus. If I thought running away from Barber by foot was scary, imagine my surprise and horror when I met Dirge, a Colossus so fast it can almost outpace Aggro at full gallop. It's basically a graboid from the Tremors movies. Gaping maw, check. Huge mandibles, check. Ability to travel underground, check. Only difference is the huge eyes that stare right into your soul. The fight starts when you approach the centre of the arena, and once the cutscene plays out, you're not given much time to react before Dirge is already hot on your trail. Newcomers to the fight will probably be thinking less about finding Dirge's vitals, and more along the lines of, "Oh god, it's chasing me, what do I do now?" Well, there's one crucial mechanic you'll need to utilise in this fight, one you may not have realised you're able to do. You can sit backwards on aggro and still use your bow. Okay, maybe I was the only person who didn't know you could do that the first time round, but at least the goal became clear afterwards. Shoot it in its comically oversized eyeballs. Dirge places in this spot because if you already know the aggro mechanic, the fight becomes a lot easier. However, it can still be a toughie due to not being able to see where you're going when sitting backwards, resulting in you frequently running into rocks and walls and leaving yourself vulnerable to Dirge's attacks. 8. Basurin, Storm Echo, 9th Colossus. This is one of those colossi I'd rather skip than fight. It's such an irritating battle that can be potentially dragged out for a long time due to positioning issues. The goal is to get Basurin over a geyser and wait for it to erupt to throw it off balance. Loose arrows into the exposed underside of its legs, watch it tip over, and climb your way to victory. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, it probably would be if it wasn't for the fact Basurin refuses to stand in the correct place. To get the Colossus to move any reasonable distance, and not just stand still firing laser bolts at you, Wanda and Aggro must leave a fairly large gap between them and it. Annoyingly, however, once Basurin gets moving, it's difficult to get it to stop again, which results in it missing the mark and requiring you to position it all over again. However, even with these potential issues, Basurin doesn't appear higher on this list because they can be avoided by good gameplay or just by getting lucky with positioning the first time round. 7. Celosia, Flame Guardian, 11th Colossus. The name Celosia means burning in Greek. The creature's Latin name, Ignis Exubitor, translates as Fire Sentinel. Even Dorman describes the Colossus as such. A guardian set loose, it keeps the flames alive. You'd be forgiven then if you didn't realise Celosia was actually afraid of fire, and that fire is the key to winning this battle. The smallest Colossus you will come across besides Cenobia, more on that one in a bit, Celosia is not one to be taken lightly. It's aggressive as soon as the fight begins, and, if you don't react in time, it can easily knock you out with one headbutt. And then, if you're really unlucky, you can get caught in one of the most unfair and annoying animation loops in the game. If you manage to work out what to do with the brazier and the stick, and trick Colossi into falling off the cliff edge with it, you'll expose its one and only vital spot. From then on, it should be a simple jump, land on its back, and stab, stab, stab. If you miss the jump, however... 6. Cenobia, Destruction Luster, 14th Colossus. I've put Cenobia straight after Celosia because really, it's more or less the same thing. Tiny angry cat Colossus wants to headbutt you to death, and you have to use the environment to your advantage. Honestly, it's a little disappointing so close to the end of the game, as not only is Cenobia another small Colossus, but you spend less time engaging with it, and more time hopping from towers, bridges and walls to avoid it. The goal is to trick Cenobia into headbutting a damaged pillar at the far end of the ruined city, which then sends the roof crashing down onto its head, and ultimately exposes the vital spot on its back. After that, it should be a simple case of jumping on top and stabbing it to death. But haha, this game never likes to make anything simple. The reason Cenobia appears higher than Celosia on my list is because the battle takes a lot longer, due to having to lead the Colossus all the way around the city. Also, one bad jump can mean death if you get caught by Cenobia, resulting in you having to play this game of cat and mouse all over again. It's really not exciting enough to warrant doing that, so just don't die, okay? 5. Phalanx, Air Sailor, 13th Colossus. My all-time favourite Colossus, and I'm sure many others, has got to be Phalanx. It's such a beautiful and majestic creature to behold as it flies through the sky. Not to mention it's the most peaceful Colossus in the game. Not once does Phalanx try and attack you. Not when you shoot its air sacs. Not when you scale up its wings and start stabbing it in the back. It even chooses to bury itself back in the sand for a time instead of fight you. Honestly, Wanda, is this girl really worth it? So, if Phalanx is so peaceful, why does it appear so high up on my list? Well, for a number of reasons. First things first, you definitely need aggro for this fight, because there is no other way to catch up to a Colossus known as the Air Sailor. Then you have to get close enough to it that you can shoot its 3 air sacs and make it lose altitude. Once you've done that, and Phalanx has dropped its wings, you need to ride aggro close enough to it so you can leap onto it and climb up. This can be awkward given the angle of the jump as Phalanx weaves, the sand and camera placement obscuring your vision at times, and aggro inevitably running into a rock and coming to full halt. Even if you manage to get on top of Phalanx, you'll probably run out of time to destroy all 3 vital spots before it buries itself in the sand and grows back its air sacs, which means you have to start the process all over again. But to be honest, I don't mind. I like this Colossus, I really don't want to kill it. Look how happy it is just floating around the sky minding its own business. Games like this make me feel like a bad person. 4. Malice, Grand Superior, 16th Colossus. The big daddy-o of all Colossi, but it's only 4th from the top? For shame. Actually, these last 4 positions on the list really left me scratching my head, and I still can't decide whether I've got the order right. But seeing as I remember Malice being tough, but not rage-inducing, I'll leave it here. This is kind of a weird one in terms of difficulty, as climbing up Malice isn't too hard, but trying to get anywhere near the gear is a different matter. Malice falls into the pew-pew-pew variety of Colossus, and once you climb the ramp leading into its arena, it'll waste no time in firing pinpoint accuracy laser bolts at you. Annoyingly, Malice sometimes appears to aim these bolts where you will be rather than where you were. In order to counter this attack, there are convenient barriers dotted about the place. Use these to hide behind and safely duck into the various tunnels that lead you towards Malice. Well, they're all convenient except that last one, which requires either good timing or a Dark Souls-esque roll to reach it. Once you're standing underneath Malice, it's a fairly easy if not long-winded climb to the top. The only place I can think of where you may come unstuck is standing too long on its right hand as you try to work out what to do next. If you aren't gripping onto Malice when it turns its hand over, well, you know how it goes. 3. Hydrous, Sea Dragon, 7th Colossus. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Hydrous. On one hand, I like the idea of this giant electric eel monster swimming around a lake and making whale noises at me. It's also the first water-based foe you come across, and the first Colossus with a unique attack besides clubbing, stomping, or just flying full pelt into you. The spines on its back let loose a powerful electric charge, which really hurts and can potentially leave Wanda dead in the water. So if this Colossus is so unique, what's my reason to hate it? Because it won't bloody cooperate. In my experience, you spend an awful lot of time just trying to get Hydrous' attention as you swim around the lake after it. Trying to catch up to a 280 foot long sea dragon in its natural environment, definitely gonna work. Even if it does spot you and begins to surface, you'll frequently find yourself in the wrong spot and either miss grabbing its tail completely or get a face full of electricity. And if you do manage to grab a hold of Hydrous, you may run into another situation where that part of its body never rises out of the water, resulting in you eventually running out of stamina and having to let go. However, if everything goes according to plan, you then must make your way up to each electric spine and give it a good stab to put that pesky lightning charge out of action. Do it quickly though, because if you don't take it out before Hydrous submerges and you're too close to it, you'll risk a nasty shock once again. This is quite a stamina draining fight, and if you haven't been diligently collecting lizard tails up to this point, you're probably not going to slay this monster in one go. There's a reason normal time attack mode gives you 12 minutes. 2. Pelagia, Great Sea Monster, 12th Colossus. Just shy of the number 1 spot is the most alien looking Colossus of the bunch. With its lack of eyes, glowing tusks that shoot laser bolts, and teeth on top of its head, Pelagia is definitely unique in appearance and one of the most puzzling colossi to work out as a first-time player. Unfortunately, puzzling doesn't always translate into fun. It's not straight away obvious how you're supposed to climb this thing. Okay, well, we've got these platforms in the lake, so let's just get Pelagia over there and... oh, not this again. Just like Phaedra, Pelagia can have a short attention span at times. Couple that with its incredibly slow movement and my lack of patience, and you've got a recipe for rage. I do like you, Pelagia, but could you pick up the pace just a little bit? If you can get the Colossus close enough to the platform, you can make a daring leap to its head and climb your way up. But wait, there's no vital spot up here. Nope, the game likes to troll you because the only vital spot this Colossus has is found on its belly, and that's constantly submerged in water. So what now, you ask? Well, smack it in the teeth, of course, is that not obvious? Depending on which set of teeth you hit, Pelagia will walk in a certain direction, left, forwards, or right. Force it to walk towards a platform, jump on top of it, and quickly hide behind the stumpy bit of rock to avoid the laser bolts. Pelagia will finally reveal its vital spot by rearing up onto the platform and exposing its belly. Now's your chance! Stab, stab, stab! Oh, but it's not over yet, because the developers decided you really should repeat this lengthy, boring process one more time before you defeat Pelagia. Thanks, Team Ico! 1. Argos, Vigilant Sentinel, 15th Colossus. And here it is, the Colossus that bewildered me the most the first time I played and left me screaming, "What do I do?" It's Argos, everybody! Given that Argos is similar in appearance to Valis and Barber, you would assume you need to climb up its leg or some dangly hairy bits to make your way up. Nope, that is much too simple for the penultimate Colossus. Seriously, this fight really left me scratching my head. Even Dormin wasn't any help. Look, Dormin, I know your hints are supposed to be vague, but could you give me a little bit more information than get up high? I mean, this is the 15th Colossus, by now I assume I have to... Oh. Yep, another battle where you must use the environment to your advantage. I'm not gonna lie, I think it took me a good 20 minutes before I finally realised you can make Argos stomp on this bit of platform to give you a way up. To heck with online guides after all. I probably spent a further 5 minutes or so rubbing Wanda's face onto every bit of wall and crevice in the hopes he'd grab something and climb further up. It was by this point Argos must have felt sorry for me, because once I whistled him over, he smashed at the wall with his cleaver, forcing a ton of rock down and giving me a way up. Thanks, Argos! By this point I was pretty well versed in Colossus smashy smashy, Wanda climby climby, so it didn't take long to work out I needed Argos to destroy the bridge overlooking the arena. From then on it's just one death-defying jump and stab stab stab, assuming you don't miss and fall off of course. I think Argos is the hardest Colossus to kill for a number of reasons. It's confusing to work out as a first-time encounter, given that you need to rely heavily on the environment to get to its vital spots. And Argos is quite tough, with a sigil on its head, and one hidden on its right palm that newcomers might not understand how to reach, especially as it's holding a giant frigging cleaver. Hard mode even gives Argos an extra vital spot on its chest. Because you weren't tired of the Harlem Shake, were you? So that's my list of all the Colossi from easiest to hardest. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't agree with part, or maybe all of my countdown, let me know in the comments section where you think I went wrong. And if you did enjoy this video, why not leave a like? It really helps me out after all. Thank you so much for watching, now get out there and slay some Colossi.